Welcome back, my dear students. So in the last lecture, I talked a little bit about creating a queue functionality for our application. I know some of you that are not very familiar with queuing stuff out in any application online are very puzzled about this term queue. But now, basically, queue means that we are going to be putting that information somewhere so that our application can, in time, every couple seconds or every couple minutes, can actually go and execute that functionality later, that job. We call it a job. So we see here, and let's go to our application. We can see that when we register a user, we can see this thing moving here, right? You get a little thing moving. That means that it's taking time for that functionality to execute. We don't want the user to be waiting here all that time. If we had 1,000 users registering to our application at the same time or the same day, we're gonna have the user waiting here for minutes. So why don't we just go and build this functionality where they can just submit their information and then we show them a message right away, and then we queue that job or that sending an email, right? Because in this case, we're going to be sending an email. Why don't we queue that job to later submit it when our application has time to do it? Okay, so it can take it. Let's say we have 1,000 users here registering at the same time. Then one by one, they're gonna have an email being sent to them, but our application is gonna take time doing it one by one until it's done, because we don't want to go ahead and and use a lot of CPU or a lot of memory or server, because it's gonna make things slow. So anyway, I want to actually put this here. There we go. So let's come here. So this queue file is in config right here. In config, in the config folder, queue.php, that's the name of the file. In here you can see that we have a queue driver. This is the default. It's going to be sync. We want to be using database, okay? But we're not going to change this here. We're going to change this in the .env file. And now if you have any other third-party queue providers, queue service providers, you can include them here. Okay, you can, of course, you don't want to edit any of this stuff here. Okay, if you have a secret key, I suggest you use this function here, env. Okay, and this function is going to be pulling stuff from the env file. Okay, so for your information, as you can see right here, is pulling the queue driver from env. So we're going to go to env, and we already have database, but you're going to have sync in there. Okay, this is what you're going to have. Change it to database. Simple as that. That's it. Now we need a jobs table, because if you go here, by default, this is going to require a jobs table. So Artisan has, or Laravel has, a really cool command here. Artisan, PHP Artisan queue :table, and that's going to create a migration. Actually, if we can spell it correctly, that would be nice. So it's going to be queue table, and you can see migration created. So now if we visit our migrations folder, we're going to see this extra jobs table here with all the columns that we need. So if you go now, the next thing is PHP Artisan migrate. Okay, now if you come here, let's refresh, and you can see that new jobs table here. Okay, that's all we need for that. Now we need to come to our where we send in the email. So that would be in register controller, and here we are sending that email. We got a couple choices on how to queue this. Okay, first of all, we can queue here. Okay, and this will queue that email. Or if you want to queue everything every time you send an email, if you want to just leave this like this, send, and every time you send an email you want to queue it, all you have to do is go to our mail our mail class, and here you're gonna be saying implement, and you see this here, this class, that's the class that you're gonna be putting here. As simple as that, like this. And now with this configuration, every time you send an email anywhere using this class, you are going to queue it without you having to do the queuing yourself. Okay, sorry, without having to do the queue yourself here. Okay, so let's actually take this off, because we're not gonna implement that. We want to state it very clear what we want to do here, because if you were using this mail class somewhere else, you want to know if you queue in it or not. Sometimes you might not want to queue certain emails. Sometimes you might want to. In this case, we want to queue it. So now let's go and try to send an email. Let's first register a user. If you already have a user, go ahead. Well, you don't have to delete it. You can create a new user, but I like to do everything from scratch. And you're gonna see here, that was faster, right? You can test it. You can take that off, the queue functionality off, or put it back on, and put it back on, and you can see the difference. That was faster. So now, if we go to our database and refresh the jobs table, you're gonna see that job right here. Okay, you don't have to worry about the payload, but basically that's all the information there for that class and a whole bunch of other information. You see all the, okay, where that class is at, the identifiers, a lot of information here. But anyway, so you can see that this attempts column here is going to tell you if just in case something is going on, you have an error, it's going to keep trying. But that's when we make sure, when we queue this. So now it's queued, but our application is not listening to that job. Okay, so as you can see here, if we go back to Mailtrap, we don't have that email anywhere, because that's waiting for us for our server to send it. So how does our server sends it? Well, our development server sends it like this: PHP artisan queue, like this, queue work. Okay, or you can do queue listen. So queue work, enter, and now you can see that it has been processed. And if we go back here, we can see the email has been sent, and we can go back to the database and refresh here. The jobs table is gone, so that job is no longer there. You see how this works? Super simple, guys, and super powerful. It just makes your application a lot better. So now every time you want to, right now this is when I did the queue work, this is still listening right now. So when we register a user now, it's not even going to hold it in the queue table that long. So in the jobs table, so let's say I want Maria registers. Well, it's not mine, it's Maria. And Maria registers. See how fast that went, but watch what's going to happen now. Now we get the email. You see? So we're getting a lot of faster functionality up here because we're queuing stuff, and then we still get the email in time. All right. So I think we're done with this functionality. Let's take it to the next level. Let's go to another lecture. See you then.